introduce myself.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
Let's do it.
All right, well, time to count down to training camp presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Today, we're tackling the NFC East. Let's start in Philly. Head coach Doug Peterson joined Total Access yesterday and discussed the significance of the Eagles reaching a long-term deal with quarterback Carson Wentz.
You know, Carson, for us, is the face of our franchise, and he's the guy that we put all our trust in. And you know, for us to be able to lock him up and secure him up now for the next several years just brings a lot of stability to the entire organization. And you know, our philosophy, or my philosophy too, it's not about one guy. It's about the team, and really more so about the team and surrounding him with the guys that we have. But getting that behind him, getting it behind the Eagles organization, really now we can just focus on football.
The Eagles are all in on Wentz. Peterson just called him the face of the franchise. He got a brand new deal, but remember, injuries ended his last 2 seasons early, and there's a statue of Nick Foles outside of Lincoln Financial Field. All right, so will Carson Wentz take the field this season under more or less pressure than last season, boys?
I'm going to say more pressure. You know, this is still the same quarterback who was a 37-touchdown QB before he tore his ACL, was the leading go-getter for the votes when it came to MVP that season. But still, with all that said, all of the compliments, the athleticism, the arm, him being healthy right now, he didn't win the Super Bowl. And I know that for me, sitting here at the table, a guy that didn't even sniff a Super Bowl, it's easy for me to say that he wants to win it himself. But even when you look at some of those images from that season, of that magical run, of him sitting on the sideline, you can tell the competitor inside him wanted to be out there slinging the ball up against Tom Brady in the past. So for me, I feel like that's the pressure. You know, health, it's inevitable that guys are going to get banged up. And I'm not even sure he'll make 16 games this year. Maybe he's healthy for 14. But being that he didn't play in the playoffs and he didn't win the Super Bowl, that right there is a pressure that when he looks in the mirror, he's putting on himself. Yeah. Not the players, not the city, not the organization, because they paid him, Kyle. They know what he's worth. Yeah. It's the pressure that Carson Wentz feels for himself.
No doubt. I look at this from a parental perspective because Mr. Lurie and Howie Roseman are sort of parental figures for the players. And, you know, when you're raising your kids, you're supposed to teach them all these lessons about morality, and you have to earn everything. And don't just buy them everything. Sometimes say no. But, you know, sometimes when all else fails, just buy him some crap, and it makes him happy and gives him confidence. I feel like the Eagles bought Carson Wentz, the biggest thing they could possibly buy him, and I think it actually is really meaningful because if you're Carson, you're like, I keep getting injured. I got this guy that my teammates are building a shrine to in the locker room. He's incredible. Who am I? Does my body work? Do they believe in me? And they're like, we believe in you. Here is the Corvette in the driveway when you're 16. Yeah. That takes off a lot of pressure in that, like, my employers, we all feel that way in any job. Does my boss believe in me? Do they like me? Do they want me to be here? Oh, they want you to be here for a long, long time. Now, with that said, I think the pressure for Carson will be when and if he starts his first playoff game. Because we know he's got the talent. We know he can sling the thing. Never played a playoff game. And if he were to go there, let's say in the wild card round or divisional, and he's been great all season, but let's say he doesn't show up well in the playoffs. That's a role. Then the Foles comparisons comes out. Then that's like, why don't we have Nick Foles come out of the bullpen? Because he was okay in the regular season, but man, he could play in those playoffs. The second Carson Wentz plays his first playoff game, which I think will be this season, that's when the pressure. Right now, job security, belief, the city, everything, I think it's less pressure.
And I think records become an issue, too, when you look at how Jacksonville starts to play throughout the season.
Yeah.
If you're seeing
you're not wrong.
If you're seeing the one that got away, all of a sudden leading his team down the division, and now he's getting into playoffs, and then that team struggling, internally I have to wonder what the locker room's thinking.
Yeah.
Did our front office let this one get away?
Jane, if you were to go into the Eagles locker room, and let's say the Jags get off 4-0, and Foles looks incredible, and the Eagles 2-2, and Wentz is okay, and you're to go talk to some of those Eagles players, how would you phrase that? How would you even ask Eagles, have you seen what Nick Foles is doing? How do you feel? How would you handle that?
As a reporter, I don't ask that question 4 games into the season.
That's the answer.
I ask them week 16, week 17.
When they're on their way out, they're shipping the cars?
I think we all know the feeling.
No, I'm not trying to cause locker room
Because you never come back in. I hear you.
What it is hearing about your ex, and everything's going great.
She looks good.
She looks good. She's great.
Wow.
You see the guy she's with? He's handsome.
Great.
He's a doctor.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the thing.
Doctor and a lawyer.
Yeah, doctor and a lawyer.
Amazing.
All right. So if Carson Wentz is the face of the Eagles franchise, I guess ipso facto, right, Dak Prescott should be the face of the Cowboys. So, Jane, I'll come to you first. What's keeping the Cowboys from signing Dak Prescott to a long-term deal?
Stephen Jones. Jerry Jones was so emotionally attached to so many players for so long, and it's what the fan base hated. They absolutely hated it, and it's why they were always in cap hell. And so what I will say about Stephen Jones is he's exercised prudence in putting together these contracts. And as he's repeatedly said, I'm not putting together this team if it's going to break it up. And so I believe that this deal with Dak does get done. But I think it's a little bit of a dog and a pony show. And then I think they're still working through this deal with Amari Cooper. I believe those are the two front runners, and then Ezekiel Elliott gets taken afterwards. But for anyone worrying that there's going to be a holdout, that's not who Dak is. This is a team he grew up with. This is the Cowboys believe in him, the way that he was able to step in for Tony Romo, the way he's galvanized that locker room. I think right now it's semantics, but I think the deal 1,000% gets done. I would be shocked if it's not done by the end of the summer.
Well, isn't that a contradiction in itself for Stephen Jones to come out and say, oh, I'm not going to sign certain deals if it's going to break up the team? But essentially, if you don't sign a guy, isn't that going to break it up anyway? Like, don't you push certain guys out the door if you come out and say, listen, I just think Dak should give us a hometown discount. Like, for our players, talk about disrespect from hour one. Yes. For players hearing hometown discounts, like, what? But you became a multimillionaire because you didn't take any discounts. Why do I have to take a discount when all these other dudes are making money and haven't even accomplished
Marcus
a quarter of
Wentz
the
didn't take a discount, so why should Dak? But I think here's what's going to really push contract talks. Steven's in the driver's seat right now. When we looked at the backup quarterbacks in OTAs in minicamp, Cooper Rush and Mike White are not looking good right now. So if I'm Jerry Jones, Steven's like, quit playing. Let's get this deal done. So I think, like I said, all signs point to, yes, this deal gets done.
You are so much more plugged in than we are. We love this because we've been talking about this nonstop. Some of the same sound bites. Dak is a company man. He's not like that. He's not like that until his agent says, Dak, you're a good guy, and I know they've had your back, but do not take a penny less than this. So how do we reconcile what he's worth versus Stephen Jones, as you're saying, try to be prudent? Because Dak can be the nicest guy in the world, and maybe he is, but he still has representation that it's going to say, no. Let me handle this. This is what I do. We're going to take every dollar we're possibly worth, and there's no discount. How does Stephen Jones handle that? How will the Cowboys handle this, Jane?
Look, it's a business deal. It doesn't get personal at this point, and even Dak joked about this at one point. Took a little heat for it. He said, I'm not Tom Brady. I don't have Giselle at home. So you've got to get paid on these contracts. You can speak to this a little bit, Nate. You've got to get paid when you can get paid.
Yes.
That's it.
This is the contract you get paid on. So if he's going to make his money, it needs to be now. And he has been playing for, we talked about this yesterday, I think $2.03 million what he's owed this year. He's playing for $550,000 and less. So at this point, it's like, let's make up the savings. Are you going to play on the cheap just because you like your team?
I've seen this before.
They might decide they don't like you in a year. You might get hurt.
Of course, and that's the thing. You certainly can't play a game without a new deal.
Right.
Looking forward, you think it's going to end well, you think it's going to be civil? Because I've seen these things fall apart.
I don't see this thing becoming acrimonious.
Good.
I believe it gets done.
All right. Listen, I've said this before on the show, and you can exclude the Patriots. Let's take 31 teams, just a blind resume. If we walked up in the owner's office and said, hey, I'll give you a quarterback, and in 3 years, he'll give you 2 playoff appearances, 1 epic battle in the playoffs against Aaron Rodgers, 1 playoff win in his third, Rookie of the Year award. Would you take that, and would you pay that guy top dollar? I guarantee 31 owners would say, yes, of course. Yeah, it's a struggle just to win games,
$30 million.
let alone get into the playoffs. But when you look at Dak Prescott, and maybe it is his humble beginnings, being behind Romo, being behind Kellen Moore, and then being that late pick, now all of a sudden they're saying, hey, Dak, I know that you're happy to be here, so since you're happy to be here, just be happy with what we give you. But you know what? That's not the way the game goes. I say it all the time. Guys leave college, women leave college to get the best job possible. Football players are no different. We have the best job possible. Now get paid as much as possible.
All right. Well, the kid who put Luke Kuechly on skates is joining the show.
This guy's got to get paid as much as possible.
You guys seen this video?
Oh, yeah.
Look at this.
I have this on a loop.
Yeah, speaking of rocket mortgage.
That is so talk about
that's a rocket right there.
Advantage of your opponent. And Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman are teaming up again.